Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. अच्युतं केशवं रामनारायणं कृष्णदामोदरं वासुदेवं हरिं श्रीधरं माधवं गोपिकावल्लभं जानकीनायकं रामचन्द्रं भजे। अच्युतं केशवं सत्यभामाधवं माधवं श्रीधरं राधिकाराधितम् इन्दिरामन्दिरं चेतसा सुन्दरं देवकी नन्दनं नन्दनं सन्ददे। विष्णवे जिष्णवे शङ्किने चक्रिणे रुक्मिणी रागिणे जानकी जानये वल्लवी वल्लभायाचितायात्मने कंसविध्वंसिने वंशिने ते नमः। कृष्ण गोविन्द हे राम नारायण श्रीपते वासुदेवार्जिता श्रीनिधे अच्युतानन्त हे माधवादोक्षजा द्वारका नायका द्रौपदी रक्षका। राक्षसक्षोभिता सीतया शोभितो दण्डकारण्यभूपुण्यता कारण लक्ष्मणेनान्वितो वानरैः सेवितो गस्त्य सम्पूजितो राघव पातु माम्। धेनुकारिष्टको निष्टकृद्वेषिणां केशिहा कंसहृद्वंशिका वाधका पूतना गोपकासुरजा केलनो बालगोपालका पातु मां सर्वदा। विद्युदद्योतव प्रस्फुरद्वाससं प्रावृधं बोधवत् प्रोल्लसद्विग्रहं वन्यया मालया शोभितोरस्थलं लोहिताङ्घ्रिद्वयं वारिजाक्षं भजे। कुञ्चितैकुन्तलैर्व्रोजमानाननं रत्नमौलिं लसत्कुण्डलं गण्डयो हारकेयूरकं कङ्कणप्रोज्ज्वलं किङ्किणीमञ्जुलं श्यामलं तं भजे। अच्युतं केशवं रामनारायणं कृष्णदामोदरं वासुदेवं हरिं। अच्युतं केशवं रामनारायणं कृष्णदामोदरं वासुदेवं हरिं। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Damodara Daily Delights, Day 21. Again, we are getting closer to the end of Damodara month, which is not so happy thing. However, now let's get started with the program today. Today we have Damodara Ashtakam singer, Vishnu, and we can see the family is waiting for us to spotlight them, and I'm doing it right now. Vishnu and family, please go ahead and do the Damodara Ashtakam.
Hare Krishna, everyone. My name is Vishnu, and I'm in the high schooler Bhagavad Gita class, and Arunant is my teacher. Namamishvaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Viyolokayadavamanam Param Vishtam Atyanta Todryagopya Rudantam Muhurnetra Yudham Vijantam Karambojayudmena Satakane Muhushvasham Patririka Pranta Sita Kraivadamodara Iti Trixpalila Vande Swarosham Nivarjantam Akyavayutam Tadiyeshitanyeshu Bhaterjitatvam Punah Prematastam Sata Vittibhande Varam Deva Moksham Mokshapadimva Nachanyam Rineham Varishadapiva Idam Deva Purnata Gopala Bhayam Sadame Manasya Vedastam Kimane Idam Te Mukham Boja Akyantahile Kundale Snidya Yakaishagopya Muhushitam Mimbarata Magnasya Virastam Ayanashalame Namo Deva Damodara Vishnu Prasida Prabodukha Jaladimadam Kripa Drishti Vrishyati Dinavatam Gruhe Shama Agnya Yakshi Vrishya Kurveda Vajau Bhagda Yadva Tvaya Mochitau Bhakti Vajau Kritaja Tata Bhakti Swakame Namaste Sudhane Purati Dane Raya Vishwasya Dane Namo Radhikaye Tvadiya Priyaye Namo Nantayiraya Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vishnu, for the nice bhajan. And thank you, Vishnu's family, for sharing Krishna Murti over there. And this family is very enthusiastic. They even hosted Janmashtami this year in their house. And they are very excited about whatever we do through Gita Wise, and they're always encouraging and supportive of all the activities we do. Thank you. And thank you, Vishnu, once again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Now move on to the next program, which is Sanvi Tatipalli will be presenting the pastime today. Hare Krishna, Sanvi. I'm spotlighting you.
Hare Krishna.
And also share.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Hare Krishna, everyone. My name is Sanvi Tadapalli, and I am in the Gita Wise high school classes, and a huge thanks to our teacher, Aruna Aunty. Today, I will be discussing the pastime of Lord Krishna's appearance. This pastime starts off with the newlywed Devaki and Vasudeva riding a chariot when Kamsa hears from an ominous voice that Devaki's eighth son would kill him. When he learned this, Kamsa, being the evil and tyrannical ruler that he is, proceeded to attack Devaki, but Vasudeva convinced Kamsa not to, so he captured both of them instead and put them inside a dungeon. Over the years of confinement, Kamsa killed Devaki's first 7 children. Devaki and Vasudeva were both incredible devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Devaki's 8th child was born, they learned that it was Lord Krishna himself. Baby Krishna was described to have lotus feet and beautiful blue skin, as well as a peacock feather. Krishna appeared in his true form in front of Devaki and Vasudeva as they prayed to him. Their fears were dampened as they saw Lord Krishna in front of them. Outside, it was splashing hard, and the wind was strongly blowing on everything. Krishna instructed Vasudeva to take him to Gokul to meet Nanda Maharaj, his close friend. With that, the iron gates of the prison cell magically opened up and all the guards fell asleep. Vasudeva put Krishna in a basket and carried baby Krishna across the swelling ocean, which parted way for them as they walked. As they moved, to protect them from the rain, Adisesh, a large multi-headed snake, covered them to keep them safe. As Vasudeva entered the house, he set down baby Krishna next to Yashoda, who was sleeping. There was a little baby girl waiting for him to take back to the jail cell. When he returned, the guards woke up and immediately informed Kamsa. Kamsa hurried to kill the baby, regardless of whether it was a baby girl or boy. As he threw the baby against the wall, it showed its true form as Goddess Durga riding a lion and having all 8 arms full of strong weapons. She explained to Kamsa how he will no longer live in peace. And happily ever after, back in Vrindavan, little Krishna was performing all his beautiful pastimes with Yashoda and Nanda. I also just wanted to address another quick question that is often asked and addressed by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna chooses his new form, so it is referred to as his appearance rather than his birth, when he chooses to take all his new forms. So some takeaways from this specific pastime, like many others, is that Krishna loves and helps all his devotees because he helped Devaki and Vasudeva during their times of hardship. Another idea is that he always fights for good to win over evil, because in the end, Kamsa doesn't win, as Kamsa is defeated. And also today in class, we discussed how Krishna appears on specific times when the world becomes less religious and there's turmoil happening. So this specific incarnation of Krishna appeared to help make sure that everything goes well. So thank you so much for your time and listening throughout this presentation. And thank you, Aruna Auntie, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Sanvi. So what did you say about why appearance and not birth? Sorry, I missed there.
Oh, I just said that it's called appearance rather than birth because he gets to choose his new forms and take the new incarnations and does it at specific times. And after all, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, that's a good point. But another point is Krishna is saying he's appearing because he's always there, right? Just like the sun is always there, but the sun seems to be disappearing at nighttime. So he doesn't seem to exist at nighttime because he sets, but he's there always, right? It's not like sun is born every morning, but he's always there, but he appears with the rise of sun, right? And disappears with the sunset. Similarly, Krishna is always there. However, he manifests himself or appears to us based on his own free will, just as you mentioned, and also to come and establish dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. That's what the verse that we learned today. Good job. Thank you so much for the insights. Krishna Janma. All right, now we'll continue with the discussion of the Navavidha Bhakti, which is, we finished up to Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Smaranam, and we were doing Pada Sevanam yesterday. We talked about how Krishna's feet are referred to as the lotus feet, and feet are present only for embodied forms. If there's no form, there is no feet. This again goes to say that Krishna is a form. Krishna has a form, and that is called the Bhagwan form. And with that said, I have a small slide which I want to share and then explain further details about this aspect of Bhakti. Okay, so here we have a picture which shows the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. Very important. It has several markings on the right and the left foot. And each of those markings have some message for us to carry on. And then thereby remember Krishna's feet based on these markings, which helps us with Smaranam easier. And therefore, we have to understand what these Pada Sevanams are. But before we go further, what does Pada Sevanam mean? Pada Sevanam means serving the lotus feet of Krishna. And then why feet? People can ask why feet, right? But then the answer given by acharyas by way of their own practice is that whenever we approach a person's feet, what does it mean? It is a sign of humility, isn't it? When we touch somebody's feet, even in India today, or even within US, when we see elders visiting from India, what do we do? First thing we do is touch their feet, and that's as a token of respect. Similarly, Pada Sevanam is a sign of humility. And it comes after the three devotional practices which we already talked about: hearing, chanting, and remembering him. And it is a logical progression from those three angas or the limbs of bhakti. Because after hearing and repeating someone's glories, what happens? We naturally remember that person and in time seek the intimacy of that person in the form of service. So Pada Sevanam offers a wonderful spiritual lesson. And what does it mean? It means approaching the Lord from the most humble position as a servant at his feet. So that should be the mood of Pada Sevanam. And that is the actual meaning of Pada Sevanam, meaning you are very humble and you are giving due respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the left of this slide, I have listed some of the various ways that we can do Pada Sevanam. So Pada Sevanam is not only the action that we do with our bodies showing that we're touching his feet, but it is also mentally how we can offer Pada Sevanam, that mood of respect and surrender. So one way of Pada Sevanam is seeing the form of the Lord. That's what I've given. So when we visit temples, right? Whenever we visit temple, we have darshan of deities. That's called darshan. Meaning when we first time see the deities after visiting the temple, we do the darshan, and there is a way of doing that darshan. And some of the tips of taking darshan are: first thing we should do is, of course, if you're visiting the temple in your house, just knock at the door. Don't just run into the puja room without knocking, or don't enter the puja room without knocking. You have to ring a bell or knock or make some sound signifying that you are entering the room. And then you can tell the names of the deities that you have in your home. Like, for example, in my house, I have Nitai Gaura Sundara. So I would be saying Nitai Gaura Sundara ki jai, as some greeting to the deities that you're at your home. So whatever you have at your home, take the names and then greet them. And then we pay obeisances. Obeisances meaning you bow down. Remember, when you are in class, also we teach the students that when you enter the class, first thing you all should be doing, the kids here should be doing is, not only kids, even the adults, if you are attending a spiritual lesson or class, first thing that we should be doing is, when we enter that place of discourse, we have to bow down, which marks as a respect for the speaker, for the acharyas, and for the Vyasasana, and ultimately to Lord Krishna. So we have to practice that attitude, of that habit of showing our respect by way of bowing down. So even in the puja room, when we enter, or when we enter the temple, first thing we should be doing is showing obeisances to the lordships. And then we also say pranams, whatever prayers we know, we have to mean those prayers and tell them whatever. It could be a simple dialogue which you want to tell to Lord. If you don't know prayer, you can just talk in your own words, mentally, clearly, as to what the prayer is glorifying the Lord and showing your position as his child. And then you have to have the darshan. After all these things, that's when you have to look at the deities. And how do we look at the deities? Starting from the feet of the deity. That is the indication that's given by acharyas, that we have to first have darshan of the lotus feet and then gradually move our eyes in the vision higher up toward the face of the Lord. And then while doing that, we also sing, chant, and offer prayers for Lord's pleasure. So that is about how to have darshan of the Lord. So this also implies or also encompasses the Pada Sevanam Anga, or the method of worshipping the Lord. The next one is touching the form of the Lord. So touching the form of the Lord is not commonly done by us. Pujaris in the temple especially have this good fortune. So, but in some temples, there are engravings or castings of the Lords and his associates. And then the lotus feet are there at the temple for us to facilitate and to touch them also. So if that is possible, then we can do that. Otherwise, it's not possible for us to always have the touching of the form of the Lord. Then circumambulation. What is circumambulation? It's called pradakshina in South India, but it's also called parikrama. Parikrama meaning what? You go around the temple, which is the holy place, and do parikrama for a certain number of times. And there is parikrama of the dham, parikrama of the temple. So that also is considered as pada sevanam, because you're serving through your feet, right? Through your feet, you're serving the Lord, or showing that attitude of respect and service to the Lord. Then visiting holy places to the Lord's form. So I'm assuming that whenever we visit India, we also in our program include visiting holy places, right? For example, in South India, it's very popular for many of us to visit Tirupati, definitely Balaji's abode. His abode in Tirupati is very popular. Similarly, based on your location, I'm assuming all of us will visit holy places in India. That is also part of Pada Sevanam. And then, because these holy places are not ordinary places, right? These holy places have become holy because Lord has performed pastimes in those places, and his foot has been that land has been traversed by the footsteps of the Lord. So those holy places are so pure. For example, when I went in Rajamandal Parikrama, people are considering the dirt, the Raj there is very sacred, because they are so inspired, believing that, or remembering the fact that Krishna has performed the pastimes on the same land over there. So the Raj is so precious that they even rub it over their body, and they do dandavas using their body angas, so that they can get purified by the dust of the dust which is being touched by the feet of Lord Shri Krishna. Similarly, in all the places, whichever are considered as holy, that is the same thing, where Lord has touched that land with his feet. Therefore, it's very holy, and it's important for us to visit such places and take the benefit of such holy places. Then bathing in Ganges or Yamuna. So we all already have discussed how Yamuna is very purifying. We talked about Yamuna while we read Yamunashtakam. And then it also says that Ganga is also very purifying. So whenever we take visit places which are on the banks of Yamuna and Ganga, that is also considered to be as one of the benefits of doing Pada Sevanam. Why? Because Ganga is coming from the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. Ganga is washing the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. Therefore, it is very purifying. Then serving Tulsi Devi. So Tulsi Devi is also very it's highly spiritual, very spiritual to worship Tulsi Devi, especially in the month of Kartik, Damodara, because Tulsi Devi is very dear to Lord Shri Krishna. And when we worship her, and she is one of the benefactor of bhakti. When we worship Tulsi Devi with devotion by offering water, flowers, by doing parikrama around Tulsi Devi and beg her for giving us bhakti, then it is guaranteed for the devotees to attain love of Krishna. That's what we say when we bow down to Krishna. The Vrinda Devi, we say, Vrindaye Tulsi Devyaye Priyaye Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Vrede Devi Satyavatye Namo Namaha. So when we bow down to Tulsi Devi, this prayer is uttered 3 times, asking and begging Tulsi Devi, please give us Vishnu Bhakti, Tulsi, Krishna Bhakti, so that we are able to get that attachment to the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. And then serving a pure Vaishnava. Serving a pure Vaishnava. Who is a Vaishnava? A pure Vaishnava is one who is always speaking about Lord Shri Krishna. Is always encouraging and preaching and inspiring others into loving Krishna and into devotional service. So when we find, or when we come across, or when we know that a pure Vaishnava is giving a discourse or has visited Atlanta or the city that we are living in, we should grab that opportunity and go have darshan and also serve that Vaishnava by way of our humble donations or whatever way we can. And the best serving of a Vaishnava is by attentively listening to the instructions of the Vaishnava and trying to implement it in our lives. That is the best service that we can do. So that is also considered as service to the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. Now, in addition, there is one more, that is what? Last one is meditation. So now when we have to meditate, we have to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. That's what meditation means. It's not like sitting and trying to think about void, but it is about meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. So how do we meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord? That help comes from with this diagram or this picture over here, which has various marks, right? These marks are present only on the feet of Lord Shri Krishna. All right. If somebody comes and claims that they're God, then one of the way to identify if they're God or not is to check their feet. And if they don't have these markings, then that's an easy way to. Of course, there are many other ways. I mean, Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. Then the person who's claiming as God should be able to lift Govardhan Hill too, right? But one way of identifying Supreme Personality of Godhead, if somebody is claiming themselves as God, then we can ask them, do you have these markings on your feet? And if not, no way they're God. So some ways of remembering this, you can see an ankusham. Ankusham means the elephant goad. What is an elephant goad? Elephant goad is a small weapon, or I don't know, it's called weapon or whatever. The elephant carrier, he uses that to control the elephant. Right? So similarly, this marking over here indicates that we want Krishna to control our mind, which is like a mad elephant. What does a mad elephant do? It runs hither and thither. It's not in control and it messes the garden that it enters into. And then it goes, cleans itself in the river and then again comes and puts dirt on itself. So it doesn't have a stable mind or a focused mind. Therefore, such an elephant is controlled by the guard of the elephant using this tool called goad, elephant goad. So we are requesting Krishna, hey Krishna, my mind is also like that disturbed elephant. So can you please control my mind with this goad? So that is the way of remembering this. Then we have the symbol of this swastiks here. What does swastiks actually mean? They are the symbols of auspiciousness. Auspiciousness means prosperity. What does prosperity mean? Prosperity, true prosperity for human beings is to be able to remember Krishna all the time. Unlike what we think true prosperity is getting more money, getting more riches. Of course, they also will come if Krishna desires those for us. However, true prosperity for every one of us here is to be able to remember Krishna continuously. And therefore, these swastiks over here remind us that we should be offering to Krishna, Krishna, please bless auspiciousness on us, the auspiciousness that helps us remember you, and the auspiciousness that aligns my desires with your desires for me. So those are the way we're going to remember about Lord Sri Krishna's feet. This is one more thing. And then you see umbrella here. It's called Chhatra in Sanskrit. What does umbrella do? Umbrella protects us from rain, from sun, correct? We use it for protection. Similarly, we pray to Lord Sri Krishna, please protect my consciousness every time, in every situation. Krishna, please protect my consciousness so that I am making the right choices and I'm not distracted by the material illusion or by material distractions. I don't get swayed by the material distractions. So please protect my consciousness so that I make choices that get me closer to you. So that way also we can remember Krishna. And then here we see a conch. What is a conch? It is used for blowing in times of victory. For example, we have learned in first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, before the war begins, Lord Krishna first blows his conch shell. What is called? Panchajanya. I don't know how many of you remember, right? There are different conch shells, and for each one of the warriors in the battlefield, and Krishna's conch shell is called Panchajanya, and he blows that beginning of the war, which indicates that Krishna being on the side of Pandavas, the Pandavas are going to be victorious. So this conch shell, which signifies the blowing when success is happening, we should pray to Krishna that Krishna, true success for me is in your shelter, is under your guidance, under your protection. So please help me become successful so that I am always remembering. It all boils down to be able to stay under Krishna's protection, to make those choices that make us remember Krishna, to never be forgetful of Krishna. Those are all the things that we have to be asking Krishna by way of these markings that we see on the feet. Then we see these spots of water also indicate auspiciousness. So like that, there are different markings. Again, lotus flower, we talked about how the consciousness, lotus flower is pure despite it coming out of the dirt and muddy water. So similarly, we also have to pray to Lord Sri Krishna that I am made of these panchabhutas and I am made of these material elements. However, I am spirit soul. So Krishna, please help my consciousness remain pure just as this lotus flower. So in this way, we can remember Krishna's lotus feet by thinking about these markings, and each of these markings has significance, which all are reminding us as to how we have to be pure and how we have to be thinking about Krishna all the time, how we have to protect our consciousness, how we have to protect our mind, right? So this is one way of remembering Krishna's lotus feet. We can talk more in the next class. There are more marks that I did not discuss. We'll talk about them tomorrow because we're already past 2 minutes, past time by 2 minutes. So thank you all so much for joining. We'll see you all again tomorrow. And until then, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I heard a couple of people who got inspired to write poems from what we discussed yesterday. I hope more of you will be inspired, and we'll hear to your poems on November 7th. So please think in those lines and come with some nice writings. All right. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Bye.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.